Southeast Mortgage, the official home loan lender of the Georgia Bulldogs, presents the official podcast of Dawgs on Demand on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. On today's program, we'll give you the latest news from the world of University of Georgia athletics and more. And now, from the broadcast studios of Dawgs on Demand, here's your host, Chris Hall.
Touchdown! All right, Chris Hall here with Dawgs on Demand on Facebook and Instagram, and we're happy to have with us today Kevin Catfish Jackson, well-known face to all Bulldog Nation. The distinction is that Kevin played on the University of Georgia national championship team. No, not the one, recently, but back in 1980, Kevin Jackson was there playing for Irk Russell on the defense for the University of Georgia. Of course, went on to become a successful businessman, a great supporter of the University of Georgia. Kevin, it's great to have you on our program today. You've been through some health issues, but hey, you and I go to the same barber, so we're good. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. And, like my grandchildren tell me, I have clear hair. That's called clear hair. So, absolutely. I'm doing great. Couldn't be any better, blessed every day, and just loving, Georgia. And, I just want to say one thing about our last conversation. If you remember last year,
yeah, I
talked about how great Stetson Bennett was.
You were the man.
And I've never argued so much with my own fan base. And and then these armchair quarterbacks, you remember they were judging Kirby. And I'm like, hey, you're a great pastor and you got a great radio voice, right? I clean up hazardous waste for a living. Yeah. Leave the coaching to Kirby Smart. Yep. And get behind your coach. And, Stetson to me, I knew some guys on that Notre Dame team, the Rudy story and all that stuff. And most of it wasn't even true. I mean, there were a lot of Hollywood in that, but Stetson has got a story that, you can't, the hardest working, endeavor to persevere. And here's what I look at Stetson about, let's look at last year. Okay. And I had to go back in the past. So he got 4 reps in the spring game. Yeah. He worked all summer. Number 4 quarterback, number 3, you don't get a lot of time with the coaches. He comes in, beats everybody out. Now this year, he comes into spring practice. He's number 1. He's getting all the reps, and I think that he is going to play fantastic. The rest of the year, and our coaching staff, to me, Kirby has assembled the best coaching staff. You look how well coached we are. Coach Russell always said the best way to win a game is not to lose it. The best way not to lose it is not to make mental mistakes. And that's all about alignment. And, you look at us and where we are and where we are in the program. We just came off a national championship. And I'm so happy I played and we won 1 and, we lost 2. Yeah. So we played for 3 national championships, but nothing like what these kids have to go through. Yeah. We had 11 game schedule. And then we were 12-0. We didn't have to go through a grueling. How many games is it? Yeah, when they finish up 14?
Yeah. 14.
And you got to go through a playoff system. You got to stay healthy. It's brutal on your body. Even back then. And but I'm just I think that for years to come. And Kirby got his extension. I love Kirby. I love his enthusiasm. I've been a Kirby Smart guy from get-go. Even when he played, he was a fierce player. But if you ever get around Kirby, the passion, the excitement for the University of Georgia is unsurpassed. And, it's just great. And, the way our defense plays, our kids play hard. And we've got a test coming up next few games. And hopefully, I think they'll be ready for the challenge.
Yeah. I've been thinking about you being on the 1980 national championship team. You were on the field for that game, and then you were in the stadium for, back in January when Georgia won it again. How do you compare the two? Your feelings and emotions. You were on the field, obviously great jubilation as Georgia beat Notre Dame for the national championship. And then you watch that game back in January when Georgia beats Alabama for the national championship for the past season. Yeah, how do you compare the two? Just in your own heart and mind, how do you compare the two?
Well, I think that, I was 19 years old when we won it in 1980. And, I don't think I really soaked it in, like I did. And we were ready to, we wanted to win it again next year and the following year. So I was a sophomore that year. But to me, and I was with my teammates, Tim Chapman, some other players, and it was absolutely, tears, all the years. I mean, you've been waiting 40 years, 42 years to get this done. And to me, it might have meant more.
Yeah.
Coach Dooley being down on the field. I mean, how hard these kids work, what Kirby and the whole University of Georgia nation. It's not, look at how our alumni got ahead. We had the worst facilities in the country, and I'll tell anybody that. And now we have the best. It was done in 6 years. For Christ's sake, Moultrie, Georgia almost had an indoor practice. They had an indoor practice facility before we did.
Yeah, I know.
With the University of Georgia. And I think all the supporters, get behind Kirby. And it was absolutely, I've got videos of it, and I look back on it, and the way they got together in the fourth quarter and just, and then Ringo with interception, it was just jubilation and, years and years of frustration, wanting another national championship. And then finally achieving that. And it's hard to do.
Yeah.
And look, college football, as you and I know it, it's changed. It's changed forever. And you're going to have to either get in it with NIL. Could you imagine? Coach Dooley or Coach Russell, we go, hey, we're going to go transfer. I'm going to get in the portal. And I'm out of here.
Yeah.
One guy, I didn't get to start last game or something.
Yeah.
And then then your recruiters are being, you got other colleges recruiting your players to come. It's a different world. But I think that Kirby and our coaching staff with NIL, and look, I was a big proponent of NIL. I believe in it. I have, 2 shot knees, a messed up back. We got education, but I love the fact that these kids are making money and they can invest it wisely and it's good for the company. A lot of people, a lot of friends, they said, you're already getting paid, but you're really not. The work and a student athlete's tough. So I think it's great for the program, and I think it's great for the kids. Think about these kids can come out now with millions of dollars in the bank, invested wisely. Productive citizens, get a good investor. I just think it's, a lot of people don't like it. I don't know what your feelings are on it. What do you think about NIL?
Well, to be honest with you, to start with, I was a little leery about it because, I'm a traditionalist and I wanted to preserve the game. And
right.
I didn't want it to change in a great way. But, I've talked to so many people. I didn't play college football, wasn't in college and all that experience. But a lot of times these kids come to college and, they really come from kind of destitute backgrounds, to be honest with you. They
right.
And they have the opportunity now. Hey, these college football programs are making millions of dollars income, and the kids, they get a free education. They get to go to class, but I do think now I've become an NIL guy. I do think they deserve, to be able to make some income for themselves off their name,
right.
image, and likeness. And as you look at college football now, this season, in the recent weeks, I don't think it's changed college football very much. Now, the transfer portal, that thing has kind of changed. But, hey, I'm warming up to it. It's the new day. It's not going to change. So let's go. Let's take advantage of it,
They say if you're not changing, you're not growing.
Right.
And definitely a lot of changes in there. But I just can't imagine a kid, that wins a national championship with his teammates. Our national championship team to this day, we're all like brothers.
Yeah.
Something happens to somebody, even our SEC teams, the 82 team. And I couldn't imagine winning a national championship with the University of Georgia and then transferring to our competitor. That's just me.
Yeah.
I have more love for the university, but I guess a little different deal now. I didn't understand that one, but it is what it is. And, but that's, it was just a different time. But I think our kids, they play hard. They're a bunch of great young men, and we're back in it again. And either way, we just won a national championship. We're ranked number 1. No matter what happens this season, our program is back on top.
Yeah.
You're recruiting. At the end of the day, hey, I don't care how great a coach you are, X's and O's. If you don't have talent, you can't win football games.
Yeah. And Kirby Smart is such a great recruiter, and if you're gonna be on the staff for Kirby Smart, you've got to be a recruiter 24/7. I mean,
he goes through 3 cell phones a day.
Yeah, and it shows up.
Never stops working. Never stops working.
It shows up on the field. So, well, it's Gator Hater Week. Here we go. Georgia and Florida coming up this coming weekend. The game will be at 3:30. It'll be the CBS Spotlight game. And, a lot of people are talking about Georgia and Tennessee, the matchup to come. But hang on a minute. That would be great if both teams are undefeated. But you got Georgia playing Florida this weekend. Big rival game. You never know. It is the SEC. And basically, Georgia's on the road, even though it's a neutral site game. And then you have Tennessee hosting Kentucky. And Kentucky's not a bad ball club. Got a great quarterback. I mean, before we talk about Tennessee and the big matchup there, which we're all interested in, Georgia's got Florida, and Florida's going to be sky high. Georgia's going to be ready. You played in these Georgia-Florida games. What do you think about this upcoming game with Georgia and Florida? Georgia's a 22-point favorite. Is that too much or not enough? What do you think?
I think the great thing about that coaching staff and Kirby, they stay within themselves.
Yeah.
And Kirby does a really good job, and his staff of, let's focus on the game. It's phenomenal. I played in it 4 years. And back then, they call it the world's largest cocktail party for a reason.
You can't call it that now. You got, that's not.
I know that. And it's extremely loud, the hype, the fans, it's a great atmosphere, and it's a neutral site. You have the same amount of fans there, and I was in with some great, we had some fantastic, the catch with Lindsey.
Yeah.
I'm over there on the sideline crying, thinking we're not going to win the national championship, and Nat Hudson makes the block. Buck throws it to Lindsey. It was incredible. And we went crazy. All the players jumped out. We got a 15-yard penalty. And then we beat them. And then my senior year, we went down. We were ranked number 1. And I think they were ranked number 8. And we beat them 44-7.
Yeah.
And we put a real beat down on them. And, we had them 44-0 at the half. It was just one of those days. I think HW rushed for 260, 270. We held them on a goal line stand. Probably one of the greatest goal line stands ever. They were on the 1-inch line. We held them 4 downs in a row, and it's just after that we broke their back.
Yeah.
And but I think this is me personally. We played Vandy. You went up to Missouri and Mundane Stadium, and then 12 o'clock games. Man, I'm telling you, even when I played, and I was talking to the quarterback he was up in the box, and he was talking about how. These 12 o'clock games, and thank God he just got picked back up. I think,
the Commanders or something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you're going to see a really fired up team. It's a great atmosphere. I think 22 is a lot in a game like that. But I feel like Georgia, and you look at Florida, we match up pretty well with them. I think we win that game by 14, 15.
Yeah. Florida's 4-3. Coming into the game, 1-3 in the SEC. They come off a loss to LSU, which is all of a sudden, well, maybe not all of a sudden, but a rejuvenated LSU team. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah, I don't like the Jacksonville thing, to be honest with you. And that's just from a spectator standpoint. I'd rather see home and home or something different. I don't know how that started with Georgia and Florida down in Jacksonville.
But it needs to be dissolved.
Yeah.
And, you need to go ahead. I got friends that have businesses in Athens. If you own hotels, you own restaurants, all that money's going down to Florida. It's not coming back into Georgia.
Right.
Recruiting. Think about, you miss another recruiting game, and you don't have any room to miss. So, hey, I loved it. I went down there without, for years. And but, hey, let's take it to Athens, the greatest place in the world.
Yeah.
And let's go kick their tails in the swamp.
Yeah.
That would be a good one, too. The last time that I think they didn't play it. Spurrier came in there and beat us like he owned us, like 55-7 when Ray was there. And I think that since then they were redoing the stadium. But hopefully, I mean, I know there's a lot going on with that, and I know a lot of people, but for me personally, it needs to come to Athens.
Yeah.
And it just, it's a waste of money sending all that money to the state of Florida. Let's get it all back in Georgia one time, every other year.
Yeah, it's a money thing. It's a money thing.
Yeah.
The reason why it hasn't been dissolved already is somewhere, somehow, somewhere down the line, you follow the money, as they say. And
that's right. That's right. But the one thing I will say, and I'll just make this one point: everybody, when you play the defending national champs and you play in the number one team, you got nothing to lose. Everybody plays their best game.
Yeah.
They're going to be coming at you hard. I mean, they're thinking upset. In any given day, I mean, those guys are talented. You have an off day. I mean, it can happen. But I think, like I said, Kirby does a good job of making sure the team doesn't look ahead.
Yeah, and Florida's got a talented quarterback. They have a talented team,
right.
And Billy Napier, he's proven himself as a coach. I mean, you don't overlook this guy.
I actually like the guy.
Yeah,
God, I don't like the Florida coaches, but he's actually a pretty good guy.
Speaking of liking coaches from opposing teams, I love Shane Beamer. South Carolina had that big win over Texas A&M. And for me, some people he may not be their cup of tea, but I love Shane Beamer, the young guy, and he's into it and he's with it. And so good family man. So Georgia's still number one in most of the major polls. Georgia's still number one, although a lot of commentators I noticed, don't have Georgia as number one. These ESPN guys and Fox Sports guys and things like that. But Georgia's still number one. Ohio State number two. Then you have Tennessee, and usually you have Michigan. And the thing that there's been a lot of talk about that Alabama-Tennessee game. It was a great game, and Tennessee obviously winning, and then the folks went crazy. But I think Georgia, even though Georgia had a bye week this past weekend, I think Georgia still had a pretty good weekend because Oregon dismantled a UCLA. Oregon now number 8 in the country. Georgia beat them 49-3, moving up in the polls. That win over Oregon in the first game of the season, as the season goes by, continues to look pretty good and even better, right?
Yeah, I agree. And the only thing I say is they're not in the SEC.
Yeah.
and it's just like, who's Ohio State play?
Right.
I mean, I'm just telling you, the real football is played in the SEC. And, you think you've seen it. It's just like I got friends in Michigan and, they were all hyped up and, they thought they had seen some really good football teams. Well, you know what we did in Michigan last year. And, they were ranked really high. They're ranked high again. And the speed, the heart that SEC football has. I mean, there's a reason that multiple national championships come out of here. There's a reason it's the best conference. Because if you're going to play football and you're going to be a great football player, you need to play in the SEC. Yeah. I mean, that's going to truly, these other conferences, I don't know, you've seen it time and time again. I don't have to tell you. That's just, and I guess me being an SEC guy, playing at Georgia, but I see it so much with these other conferences that are so weak to me. I mean, could Oregon beat Alabama? Could they beat Tennessee? That's it's not UTEP and not BYU and UCLA. It's different schools, but I do think they had a good good program, and I think that we're gonna fare very well.
Yeah,
but who we line up.
Yeah, I think so too. Over the weekend, Alabama rebounded, beat Mississippi State. You had Tennessee taking out UT Martin. By the way, speaking of Ohio State, they do travel to Penn State this weekend. You never know though.
I mean, Michigan destroyed them.
Yeah.
So, what was it, 44-7? I mean,
we can always hope for a big upset.
Hey, we can, or we can hope to play them in the national championship and then really show them who's top.
There you go. So let's project just a little bit. Let's say Georgia takes care of business against Florida, and then you have Tennessee winning over Kentucky. Then the next weekend, you have Georgia probably number 1, Tennessee probably, if things hold, number 3. You have a 1-3 matchup in Athens, Georgia, for a lot. So much would be on the line for that. kind of project a little bit. What will Athens be like? What will Athens be like on a Tennessee Georgia? Under that scenario, Tennessee Georgia game, and
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and what will that game be like? What do you think?
Well, if first of all, when was the last time we were number one and played number 3 in Athens?
Yeah,
I can't even. I mean, I'd have to get a historian or something to figure that out. But I hope it's a night game.
Yeah.
Has it been determined yet? I don't even know. I know they were, but
and the odds are it won't be because of contractual TV contractual things. CBS will have the game. They've already had a night game, and they only have one. I understand only one night game a year contractually, unless they work something out. For
I don't know if you were at that Notre Dame game at night with the lights.
Oh, that was awesome.
And let me tell you, we're not playing up there in Tinker Toy Town, that little Tinker Toy Stadium they got. If we want to move our seats in, we could put 140,000 in Sanford Stadium. They're coming to Athens.
Yeah,
and our fan base is going to be fired up. And I always loved and always played better at home. We had some road games, and that was just me and other players. But that stadium is going to be crazy.
Yeah,
it's going to be the greatest venue ever played for a player to come in and be in Athens, Georgia, and you're ranked number 1 and you're playing number 3. I mean, it just doesn't get it's the stage is set, but you got to beat Florida. You can't look ahead. But man, I love games like that. I love playing in the big games and motivating and as young players, it's hard not to look ahead. Yeah. So, but Kirby does a pretty good job beating them down. They live in the day to day.
Yeah. Coach Smart is just a good coach. I mean, he's a good coach on field, off the field. He's just a good coach.
Anywhere you look at him, just can't. Great guy.
Yeah. You played for Coach Vince Dooley, and I saw an interview with Coach Dooley a while back. Of course, he had COVID and pneumonia, I think, and fortunately, he was able to overcome that. Coach Dooley, what is he, 90 now? Is he 90 or
90?
90 years old.
Right.
But still sharp, just as sharp as he can be.
His mind is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And just keep him in your prayers.
Yeah.
Keep him in your prayers.
I probably not a fair question, but comparing Coach Dooley with Coach Smart, different personalities, different times, it's a different time in college football.
Totally.
Georgia sure was fortunate to have Coach Dooley, and then of course to have Coach Smart. What is your comparison of those two guys?
Well, for Coach Dooley, for me, he's like a second father to me. I mean, recruiting me out of high school, Cartersville, Georgia. He gave me a lot of opportunities when I was a stupid young guy making stupid decisions. He could have thrown me out of school multiple times for stupid stuff that you do at 20 and 21, 22. He didn't. He stuck with me. When I've opened businesses, he's come down and been the guest speaker. He killed his first deer with me. His wife will tell you.
Really?
We were in Hawkinsville, Georgia, with a 300 Weatherby. I think he went and purchased the gun. We duck hunted together. I just love him. Now what Coach Dooley was he was more of a general, to where in practice and I've been, I was coached by him and his coaching staff. When you saw a coach, you had just held somebody or something, and then he chews your tail out. Okay.
Yeah.
Day in and day out, and he led. But look who he had. He had Irk Russell, who may be the greatest coach ever, coaching defense. He let Irk do his thing. He let that. Now, what he did coach was he was very big on special teams.
Yeah.
And when we go in on Sunday, because special teams, you got to have it and you got to perform well with it. That was his big day. And if you were on special teams, you had better be hustling. You better not be holding. That's punt return. Punting team, kickoff return, and then PAT and field goal team. So he, that was his persona, and he just very loved his players. But I think Kirby has more of an open, passionate personality. For Coach Dooley, that Marine was always in him. I mean, very, very military. And then, man, I don't know if you've ever been to practice where Kirby is. Man, he got that microphone on. He's coaching them up, brother. I mean, it's a whole. I've never seen anything like it. How the energy level the man has, and he gets that mic on, and Coach Dooley never did that. He had that tower up there, Yeah. And we would go offense, defense. He would watch, and then kind of on Tuesday we call them Bloody Tuesdays. was a very tough practice. We actually went 1-on-1 and, physical aspect of it, but both, and then Coach Dooley, historian, I mean, my God, he's gotten roses named after him. I mean, he made his own flower. I mean, the guy's a master gardener. So, it's very, very unique circumstances. But I think, you got a high personality guy that hugs you. I mean, I love the guy. I mean, Kirby, and then you got Coach Dooley who had a different personality.
Yeah.
But both highly, successful.
Yeah. And, my one of my memories of Coach Dooley actually was at my high school. I went to Crisp County High School, Cordele, Georgia. He came down to speak at our some kind of athletic banquet or something like that. And Oklahoma, the University of Oklahoma, had tried to hire him as their head football coach. And he announced at that event where I was in attendance as a boy, I can't remember how old I was, that he, was going to stay at the University of Georgia, and we gave him a standing ovation, and I was a kid. I didn't understand all of it much anyway, but
right.
He said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay at the University of Georgia, and how blessed we were for him to stay at the University of Georgia. Well, we've had Kevin Catfish Jackson with us, played for the University of Georgia back in 1980 and through 82, played on that great national championship team for the University of Georgia. Successful businessman. I mean, you got businesses everywhere, and you're doing a great job. And one thing I really love, there's so much to love about Kevin Jackson. You're a great family man. I always see pictures of those grandchildren. There's nothing like grandkids, right?
They love my life, and they're just family in general. To me, we're very blessed. We're very close knit. I had 3 kids, got 7 grandkids. I think most important is my wife. We've been together 37 years, and our kids to see how much I love her, and she's the love of my life. I love her as much today as the day I married her, and she's my best friend. And I think that my kids want to get married early because we were so happy, and I just think family is very, very important. And I get them every time I can. I teach them how to crab, teach them how to shrimp, teach them how to hunt. So we're doing all the things. So it's surreal.
Yeah. Kevin, thank you for joining us today. It's always a joy to have you with us. Hey, it's Gator Hater Week, so let's get them, Dogs. And,
let's go Dogs, baby. Go Dogs.
Absolutely. And we'll have you again on our program very soon. Thank you for joining us. I
appreciate you.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Dawgs on Demand would like to thank Southeast Mortgage, the official home loan lender of the Georgia Bulldogs, for sponsoring our program today. When the time comes to finance or refinance your home, make the smart choice and get your home loan from Southeast Mortgage. Your friends at Southeast Mortgage are ready to help you. Visit southeastmortgage.com/UGA today for more information. Be sure to visit Dawgs on Demand on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and our great interactive website, dogsondemand.com. Join us for our next program as we keep you up to date with the latest sports news from the University of Georgia and more. Until then, be safe and go Dogs.